Yes guys, and I hope we are good. So welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to run through 5 of the new follow messages that I have been sent recently. We're going to dive into them, look at what works really well, look at what is ultimately a little bit shit and we need to change, and actually what you can do to make sure when you're messaging new followers and giving them that opportunity to start a conversation when they've just come to the page, and actually how can we get a response, because that's exactly what it's about. So let's dive into it.
Obviously deleted names and everything else from this, so I'm not a prick, basically. So first one, right? Thanks for the follow. Curious, how did you come across my page? Are you here for any specific fitness advice or just browsing the content? Now that is pretty sick. I like that. The fact that we've asked how did you come across the page is so underutilized when it comes to new follower messages. It is definitely something that more people should be doing, right? Because actually, not only are you opening up the conversation, it's not too forceful, but actually it's good research. Because if they were to come back and be like, oh, I saw you on X's story, or oh, I saw you on the explore page, or oh, I saw you after I searched for X, or oh, you know someone, I know somebody that you work with. Straight away we've got a conversation connection there. So if they come back with that, it's an easy go back for you as well, and actually the conversation can kick off and we can obviously build a little bit of a connection and build a little bit of a relationship as well. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. In terms of this, I get it. Obviously, we can go in and kind of say fitness advice or just browsing the content. Again, it's still enticing a response, which is exactly what we want, right? These new follow messages are great. Obviously, like I say, someone's seen us somewhere, so we want to get them to the position where we can open up the door and invite them in for a conversation. Yeah, so actually, it's just a really good way to kind of kick off the conversation. What is not so great though is this. Right? You do not ever need to follow up on a new follower message. I don't know why we do it. Okay? I don't know why we do it. Yes, give them the opportunity to start a message, but do not then follow them up. And also use the word overlooked. I've not overlooked, right? It's make me like that. That to me makes me feel stupid. It's like, oh shit, like I've overlooked it. I haven't overlooked it at all. I just didn't respond to you, right? In that moment. Okay, and then this goes across the board. So please do not follow up with new follower messages. There is absolutely no need to do it. The only way we would do it is if they've responded. Yeah, so if they've come back and be like, oh, I found your page on the explore page. I saw you've got really good results. It's something that I'm looking to do. Ultimately, then we would follow up, right? Because they've responded to us. But do not follow up on a new follower message. It just looks shit. There is so many other people you can follow up with. Okay, so if this is, number one, let's utilize this if you're not already doing it. Number two, don't do this. Right? It just looks so desperate when we're following up. You've got plenty more people in your audience that you can speak to. Right. Numero dos. Okay. Again, a bit of a problem with this one, right? So I've never spoke to this person before, right? Never spoke to them. Obviously I followed their page, right? So they haven't really sent me a new follower message. They basically just said, I'm putting this together for £10. I get what they're doing when it says, just thought I'd share in case it's helpful for you or someone you know. Obviously that's been utilized quite a lot before. It's almost like a sideways thing. It's like, would you know anyone who's interested? And I get why we're doing it, because ultimately we want them to be like, yeah, I'm interested, which makes sense. But I've never spoke to this person, right? And they've also then followed up with it. Okay, so this to me screams, there's a list of people, go and send it and see who bites, right? It's just such a frustrating way to bring people in. And I see what, in terms of the 2-week online coaching trial for £10, like that's a lot of people. And again, I get why we're doing a trial, but if we just look about it from a message point of view, he's just gone fucking in without even knowing anything about me. Yeah, not even, hey, how's it going? I saw your name pop up. I saw you watching the stories. I really appreciate you liking Stacey's transformation or whatever it was. Yeah, but there was nothing from my side, and they've just gone in with that. And there is nothing more frustrating. You may have tried it on your page before where it's like, you've either done it or you've given it to your VA and you're like, there's a list of people. Here's the offer we're running. Go and send it. and you're ultimately just throwing a shit ton of shit at a wall and hoping something sticks. Now, these direct messages work, right? But this is where we have to be sending it to leads, people we know it could actually benefit, right? If we're just sending it to everybody, it's a very quick way to burn through your audience, piss a lot of people off in the process when there's been no communication there. People are seeing through these messages so much more than what they used to, right? So yes, direct messages work, but only if there's been a connection before. Okay, now ultimately we've got to follow up again. Again, I'm not saying this message didn't work for this person's audience, but they're playing a game of volume and hoping people come back, right? They might get incredible results in that 2-week online trial and ultimately they'll stay on, which is the point of it, right? But you're going to need a lot of hands in the air and there's a lot of kind of burnt bridges in that process. Yet if we went through a period where we're nurturing the audience and we're building connections, how's it going, what have you been up to, I can see you're doing this, that looks insane, etc. Not only are we more likely to get a response, if we get a response, the conversation then kicks off, and then actually if it kicks off and we get to the point where they're struggling with something, then we go in with this message, the response rate plus the uptake is going to be a lot higher. Okay, so definitely have these direct messages in your back pocket, but make sure when you're actually having conversations, you're tagging or tracking or labeling people that are leads, and then you can go back in with it because it's just going to make more sense to them. But straight off the bat, it just looks a little bit shit. And as I say, you're going to have to go through a lot of volume, and you're kind of just hoping you land in someone's inbox at the right time, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that'd be good. It's only a tenner. Let's give it a go. So actually, if we then go down the route of actually the types of people you want into your business, obviously it's a conversation for another day in terms of what that looks like, but it's just something to be wary of because then we're kind of just grabbing at tactics just to trying people through the door. So, a couple of things on that one as well. Now, in terms of this one, this is super sick. I know I've listed naming, but it could literally be any Steve. Steve's quite a common name. Obviously, this person is not in the fitness industry, right? And it's just a sick message, right? It's so good. I really appreciate and hope you enjoy watching my journey. If we think about why social media was built in the first place, people were just sharing what they're up to, their fitness journey, just like a life journey. They're documenting their holidays, doing all of this shit. And actually, people will follow along with it, right? Everything is kind of a journey. Obviously, he's opened it up. He said a little bit about his 2 passions as well, which is obviously super cool. And actually, don't be shy. Feel free to ask. Feel free to ask questions. So this guy actually runs a travel page, in terms of actually almost like a travel agent style thing. But it's so it's not massively to the point. Okay, it's not as in it's too direct. Hey, I sell travel. Are you looking to book a holiday? And people will be like, whoa, hold on. And I just love in terms of just actually, I know so much about him in this one message, right? And I know it's spoke about quite a lot. People buy from people, right? And we found out a lot about Steve in this one message. So the fact he's not been too direct has our attention, right? And actually, I want to keep up to date with actually what is going on his page. So suddenly, I spoke about it before, but suddenly I'm now on that conveyor belt and I'll start watching his stuff. Now, a holiday obviously is something that you might book once a year, twice a year, once every couple of years, whatever that looks like. But actually, when it gets to it, he would then be the person I speak to because actually I know him and I've been nurtured in a really nice way. Yeah. One thing I would say, you can't see it on the bottom of the message there, obviously he signs it off. One potential thing we could add is actually just a bit of a question. So it could literally be, obviously I run a travel page, have you got any holidays coming up or did you manage to get away this year? Right, and holidays is something people speak about quite a lot. They're likely to post about them as well. So actually it could be something where he goes onto my page or whoever obviously follows his account onto the page and he could be like, oh, I saw you went away to X. But really good. So actually, if we can get across. Now, ultimately, this is going to depend on the platform that you're on. These style messages can work very well on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is just a sea of cold messages. So if you're going to be like, I do this, like my 2 big passions, which is great. And then ultimately a little bit about what you do. I help business owners with their lead generation and sales as an example. And actually, we're just signing it off. right? But then I know that person is going to be interested, okay? In terms of Instagram, obviously we're enticing that response a little bit more, so this is where we'd add that question onto the end. But really, really, really cool message to send. This one's really good, right? I actually really, really like it. But, and you're going to call me like a prick for saying this, but it's just the grammar. It's just the grammar. It's just a couple of spelling mistakes. And I know that might just be me. And I know you're going to sit there and be like, what a fucking petty person she is. And I do get that. But when we are sending a new follower message, it's the first impression, right? It's the first impression one-on-one with somebody. They've watched the content, they've chosen to follow us, and then we go in with a message. Now, I like it because it's not too direct. It's not, here's my program, here's my shit, do you want to book a call? Are you working on any health and fitness goals at the moment? Obviously, he's just kind of saying in terms of like posts, reels, podcasts, books, etc. Okay, now this person has a very, very established page as well, which is obviously great. But just a couple of things in terms of that, I would literally just look at grammar, because sometimes you can read that and be like, is it rushed? Like, have they put this through, have they just kind of like copied and pasted it? Have they sent that to other people as well? And again, I know that's such a small detail, but something just to remember when you are messaging people as well, because that is the first impression that someone is going to see, obviously, when they've come on your page, right? So you've opened up the conversation, they've chosen to follow the page, you've opened up the conversation by sending them a message. What do you want that message to portray? And it goes back to what we said before in terms of like, are we pushing for sales? Are we trying to get someone to buy straight away? Or we're basically asking if somebody wants to lose weight when we don't even know them. That's the first impression. Yeah. So actually, what do I want this person to think when I send this message? Especially if you think about actually other messages they would be receiving. Okay, and last one, right? Hey Alex, just a quick thank you for the follow. I hope my content provides some value. If you ever have a question, health and fitness related, or about one of my posts, please reach out. Have a great day. Now, super subtle, super human, not too direct. I'll be very honest, we start a lot of our new follower messages, depending on the accounts we're on. Obviously, we've tested different messages and works well with different audiences. Majority of them start very, very similar to that. Hey, hope you've had a good weekend. Massively appreciate the follow. I hope that, you find the content helpful. I hope you get some value from the content, however we want to word it. But then what we would always do is ask them where they've come from. So going back to obviously the message we spoke about before, I'd love to hear what brought you to the page. If you don't mind me asking, where did you find us? Right? Now, again, with these new followers, obviously, it's about testing and kind of seeing what works. But with this, like I say, really good, subtle, and that human connection, not too direct. But the only thing I would say is we're not enticing a response on this. Now, sometimes we can look at it like reverse, because it could almost be like a majority of people would probably, because they're like, oh, that's like really, they'll probably say thank you or massively appreciate it. Or they might just respond because we've not enticed a response, if that makes sense. So then obviously the conversation is kicked off anyway. But something to test in terms of ultimately getting out that kind of question, because as I said at the beginning, it actually just gives you so much research and so much understanding is probably the right word in terms of actually where have my audience come from. Because if we look at lead generation on a whole, ultimately it comes down to what's working really well. How can we duplicate that, replicate that, and potentially double down on that? So if you sent out this message and it was like, I'd love to hear where you came from, and it's like, oh, it's that podcast episode with X, it was the podcast episode with X, it was the podcast episode with X, it's like, shit, that podcast went down well, how can I put that out more? Or actually, we've got a really good collab with that audience, whether it's a client or another coach or whoever that is, how can we get episode 2 in the books ready to happen in a couple of weeks' time? It's just such a good way to get an understanding of where people have come from. So as I say, that's a really good way for us to kind of duplicate, replicate, and ultimately double down on. I hope you find that helpful. As you said, in terms of those messages, actually we're looking at what works really well. Yeah. Every audience, you are going to need to test it, especially if you've got a lot of new followers coming to the page. It's a really good time for you to split test between different messages. Everything that we need to remember, though, when it comes to it, are we enticing a response? Is it human? And is it subtle? That's what we want to do. Okay. If we nail those 3 things, your response rate will skyrocket.